Hello besties, welcome back to Bookmas. Welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about all the books I read in November. If you saw me in a red t-shirt in this thumbnail, I just had it on and just spilled my tea all down the front of my shirt. So I had to change, and that is why I'm in a completely different shirt. Not that anyone was really caring, but if you were the one person that did, that's why I have a totally different shirt on. I'm so upset because I wanted to wear that shirt today, but anyway. Hello, welcome to my November reading wrap-up. Before we get into it, I want to thank today's sponsor, which is none other than Book of the Month. Now, if you haven't been around these past few months, I've been doing a book a month with Book of the Month. If you don't know what that is, I've been choosing books from their selection each month, and we've been reading them together. I've chosen an emoji that goes with each book we've read this month, and we've been commenting and chatting in the comments throughout each month about the books. If you haven't heard of Book of the Month, it's an online book service for readers. It's a monthly subscription, and the box comes to your doorstep every single month. Their team vets hundreds of books each month. They go through new titles, new authors, new emerging authors, and they curate a perfect list for us to choose from every single month. They usually have really exciting books each month. So for the month of December, these are the books that I chose. This one I was so excited to see on the list, and that is The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter. This is a Knives Out meets rom-com story, and that is just like so up my alley. And then I also chose The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. This one is a fantasy. I'm pretty sure this is like a dark fantasy, so I was excited about that because I do love getting into those in the winter time. So we've had a special offer for new members throughout this Book of the Month with Book of the Month, and that is you could join Book of the Month with a special rate of just $12.99 for 3 months with the code BAM. So if you guys have joined, hello and welcome. If you joined me in this journey of reading together, it's been so fun. And like I said throughout these videos, we had a special something happening in the month of December, and that is a giveaway. So for this giveaway, we'll win a 6-month gift code to Book of the Month in December. All you have to do is follow Book of the Month on Instagram, go to the post I posted with the Book of the Month, and comment and tag friends. And again, this giveaway will close on December 15th, so make sure you go over there and you enter. For the month of November, I chose P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connolly. This is a romance about our female main character's brother passing away, and in his will he sets up his best friend and his sister to go on this journey together across the country and go to all these states that he has not visited yet, and these two do not get along, so now they're forced to go on this adventure together. I got a little bit into this one and I couldn't get into it, so I put it down for now. I really want to enjoy it when I'm in the mood for it, so I softy and after it. But if you guys read it, comment down below with the puzzle piece emoji and let me know your thoughts and your final ratings. I really would love to know. So if you guys read this in November or read along with me for the other months, I hope you guys had fun. Again, don't forget to enter the giveaway over on the Instagram, and thank you guys for participating, and thank you also again to Book of the Month for sponsoring. I've had so much fun doing this challenge with you guys. So now into the books that I read in the month of November. November was an interesting reading month. I was reading for November videos, I was reading for Bookmas videos, I was reading personally, so there's a lot going on this month, but in total I have 14 books that I read, and there were no DNFs this month. Majority of the reading came from romance genre. I had 8 romances, I had 1 dystopian, and about 5 fantasies, so heavy in the romance this month. I don't think I really planned to do that, but that's kind of what happened. So like I said, a few of these books are part of Bookmas, so I'm not going to tell you when exactly in the month I read them. I'm going to right now just kind of name them off so you guys know what books I read in Bookmas, but I'm not going to give my rating or my reviews. I'll tell you what they're about, and you'll just know that those were some of the books that I read in the month of November. But not to give too much away, I'm not going to give you my thoughts, my ratings, or when in the month I read them, so you can't guess what video they're from. So in no particular order, we have a bunch of books that I read for Bookmas in the month of November. I was pre-filming, I was pre-planning. I will hold them up. I'll tell you if I recommend them or not, and kind of the gist of them. First, we have Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. This one is her adult romance, and I think I'm in the unpopular opinion where I really enjoy her adult romances more than her young adult, and I know a lot of people love her young adult romances. I think it's just easier for me to connect to the adult ones. I'm not too sure why, but this one really fast-paced, as all Lynn Painter books are. I would definitely recommend it. This one's about our main character Sophie, and something happens with her fiance before her wedding, so her best friend hires an objector to come to the wedding and basically object to them getting married before they're able to say I do and completely cancel out the wedding. And then weeks or months or whatever time passes, and he comes back, the objector comes back into Sophie's life and is like, I want you to object with me. Would you like to come to some weddings and do this kind of as a side gig? And that's the premise of this one, and I would recommend it. Then we have Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco. Very exciting new release. This is part of the Prince of Sins series. I think it's an interconnected series. It's a spin-off from Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. This one's an adult romantasy series. This one follows Prince Gluttony, and something's happening within his court. Well, all of the courts in this world, the Prince of Sins courts, things are happening to them that are kind of ruining them, and something's happening within Prince Gluttony's court, and in order to not cause an uproar with his people of the realm, he is trying to keep it hidden, keep it secret. But we have our female main character Adriana, and she is this gossip column journalist, and her favorite person to write about is Prince Gluttony, and he hates that. He hates that she writes about rumors and has people talking about him everywhere, and he's trying to hide this information from getting out, so he does not want her to find out what's happening. But she's suspicious, and she kind of has an inkling of what's going on, so she's trying to find out more information information. He's trying to keep her mouth shut. So we have that situation going on. They're kind of like rivals in this world. And there's also a bit of a plot line over here where it's like a Cinderella retelling, which was really fun. But this one, I would recommend. Really love this world. As you guys know, it's also very special and close to my heart. I have a little blurb on the back of it, which was really fun. So that's another book I read during this Bookmas. And then again, nothing in a particular order, but I also read Where Time Stands Still by N.S. Perkins. This one is a cozy holiday romance. It's part of an interconnected duology. I'm pretty sure there's only 2 of them. It's about Ren, who is a lawyer, but she also struggles with her future because her family has a past of early onset Alzheimer's. So she doesn't really want to form relationships. She's very just on her own, just because that is something that's going to come up later in her life, and that's a big part of what's going to happen to her. And she doesn't want to put anyone else or herself through that and through a heartbreak like that. And then we have Aaron, who had to move back home to a small town. His family owns a Christmas tree farm. He has to help out with the Christmas tree farm and with his family because his father, something happened to him with his health, and they're actually suing the doctor or the hospital, one of the two. So they hire Ren on the case to be their lawyer, and she kind of just like infiltrates this family as their lawyer, but also as kind of like this safe spot, comforting stability pole for their life and their family. And this one I would definitely recommend. Cozy winter holiday romance. These are not in the same video, but I did read Lightlark and Nightbane by Alex Astor. This blew up on TikTok, on Book Talk. I don't really know how long ago, but I completely ignored it. Not sure why I never picked it up. This is a fantasy romantasy about Lightlark, which is an island that shows up every 100 years, and the 6 rulers from each realm have to come to Lightlark and compete in the Centennial, which is this high stakes competition in order to break the curses on their realms. It's never been done before. They've had 5 Centennials, and all of the other, or a few of the other rulers have done it before, but it's our main character's first time. The only thing is that they're all working together to break a curse for everyone, but again, it's a competition, there's high stakes, and one ruler has to die to win the competition, and when one ruler dies, their whole realm goes with them, so high stakes happening. And then there's also Nightbane that kind of just follows after, obviously, Lightlark. You find out a lot more of what happened prior to Lightlark and prior to the competition, which I feel like is very vital to the storyline and the plot of what's happening and getting to know our characters, so I would recommend these. I don't want to say too much, but I think I would recommend them. Then we have Meet Cute by Helena Hunting. This one is a contemporary romance novel. It's about 2 characters that meet when they're in law school, and they have this kind of like meet cute, but very embarrassing for our female main character because he's actually her childhood TV actor crush. And then fast forward years in the future, she's working as a lawyer and he comes to her with some legal help that he needs, and she steps onto the case. But this actually gets a bit heavy. I think I would go into this knowing it follows a lot about grief and a lot about the loss of parents, which is not really shown on the summary or within like the beginnings of it. It's not really presented. It's going to talk about that a lot, and it does, so I would know that before going into it, but I wouldn't recommend this one. And then we have, lastly, from Bookmas videos, is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Finally, I know you guys are like probably screaming because I picked this book up so many times this year and probably the end of last year saying I was gonna read it, but you will see me read it this month. This is a YA dystopian series. I think it's a trilogy actually, and it's about these 2 young adults, and they are under the apprenticeship of a scythe. They're learning how to become one and learning the inner workings of it, and basically a scythe is people that glean to help population control, which is basically they're murdering people to help population control. So very interesting concept. I would recommend this one. Okay, so those are all the books that I read during Bookmas that I do not want to give too many thoughts away on, but there are plenty of books that I read that were not part of Bookmas, either read it on my own time or for a video within November, so let's get into those now. I can talk a little bit more freely about those ones. The first book I read was Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This one is a fantasy romantasy. It's gonna be, or I think it is, a 4-book series. This one is about our main character DM, whose mother suddenly disappears, and with her disappearance comes a lot of secrets, a huge secret about DM's past. And with all this new knowledge, she's kind of offered this opportunity to work with the Descended, and that is the royalty, the fantasy royalty of this world, and DM lives in the mortal world, so they're kind of like much higher up. She doesn't really know too much about them, but again, with her mom's disappearance, she's learning more and more, and with her learning more and more, she's learning or trying to see who she can trust, who she can't trust. Like there's an internal kind of like moral battle going on where like she doesn't know much because she was also sheltered within her family. Like she didn't learn about the world, and now with her mom's disappearance, she's learning so much, and she's kind of just struggling about what's the right information and what's the wrong information and who to trust and which way to go. It's kind of just a struggle you're watching her go on. This one in the beginning, it was a little tiny bit iffy on. I think the first like 40-ish% was really predictable, not in a bad way by any means. It had a lot of things that I enjoy in fantasies and that you see a lot in fantasies. There's like an impending war, there's betrayals, there's secrets, there's rebel groups, there's royalty. So there's a lot of things in this fantasy that, again, you see a lot, and that was a bit predictable. The storyline going on, I was kind of like understanding and picking up where it was going to go before we got there. And again, not in a bad way, but I was kind of hoping for a bit more. But when we hit like right after the 40% into like halfway through the rest of the book, really picked up, pacing picked up, the stakes picked up. I was really entertained. You meet one of the like the side male characters that was like joining the story a bit more, and I was really like intrigued with their storyline. So I'm hoping we get more of them in the second one. I think the fantasy world and the politics and the writing were really easy to follow along with. There's not much that's like confusing or hard to keep up with. I think if you don't read fantasy or you're like getting into romantasy, I think this is a good one to read. I think if you like fast-paced fantasies with royalty and secrets and a good build-up for like a future series, I think you'd enjoy this one. So I'm excited to read and continue the rest of the series. One of my goals is to finish the whole series throughout the winter months, so already bought the second one and really excited about it. Then I read Predator. This one is part of a mafia interconnected series. Actually, the first two are about the same couple, and I think the rest of it are about different people. We follow Tristan, who's part of this notorious, really big mafia family, and then we have Marana, who is the daughter of the father, who is part of this like other notorious mafia family, and these families do not get along. They are enemies. And what I really liked about this one is how the romance in a mafia series, which is my first mafia romance I read, it's true enemies. Like, the stakes are high. Like, these families are true enemies, and these people cannot be near each other because people will die. Like, it's crazy. But basically an old like mystery comes back up, like an old thing that could really blow up these families, and Marana's trying to save what's gonna happen if they do get out, because she kind of caused this. And so she goes into Tristan's home and she tries to kill him. Like, she tries to sneak into his house and kill him, and it's just a crazy start to this book. I really like the way it was set up. You really get the high stakes of it. Like, she's literally going in there to murder one of the other characters. Like, she's not playing around. The only thing with this one is you're in Marana's point of view the whole entire time, and there's not a lot of dialogue. It's much just her point of view, her internal thoughts and descriptions, so it got a bit repetitive with that. I think we could have really helped out the story if our male main character Tristan had a point of view, or at least a couple point of views within the story, because he is a man of a few words. They didn't really speak to each other. They made a lot of eye contact, like a lot of eye contact, and since they lacked that like conversation aspect, and I love banter in books, they just didn't have any banter. They did have the physical tension and just like the pull between each other, but there was not much to really back it up, because Tristan would do things and stuff, but like there was no words to kind of say like why he's doing what he's doing. And I think I would have just liked it more if we got more words out of him, more banter, and just like more of this chemistry between them with words. I ended up giving this one a 3.5. I really did enjoy it. I think it was just how repetitive it got being in her dialogue. I'm excited to see the second one, because like I said, it follows the same characters, and the way this ended is like a perfect setup for the next book to like still be about the characters. I don't think it'll slow down. I actually think it's gonna pick up the second one. And I also did love our main character, or our female main character, Marana. She's such a strong female lead, because she grows up in this like crazy world and is thrown in these like crazy circumstances and has to be just a strong character to like survive in this world, especially under such a cruel father, and just like being in the mafia world. Obviously that's not easy as a woman, and the way she grew up and what she's surrounded with her whole life, I just really enjoyed her character and seeing her stand up for different things. So I'm excited to continue the series. I definitely want to, and I can't wait to see the further books, because there's 2 characters in here that I'm pretty sure get one of the books. I think maybe it's the 3rd one, and I can't wait to see like their history and like what happened with them back in the day, or what's going on with them. I'm really excited about that. Another book that I read on my Kindle was Metal Slinger by Rachel Snyder. This is a romantasy series. Actually, I think it's going to be a duology. The second book comes out next year. So the summary of this one is that there's a market that's hosted every year by the Kenta, and those are the people that exiled our main character Bryn's people to live like over the sea, so they're not allowed on land. But again, every year there's a market. So this year Bryn is allowed to go to the market, but when she goes, things go wrong, and when she comes back to her home, it's just a big situation happening, and then the stranger shows up to her home and is kind of feeding her information and knowledge about like the magic and everything that she didn't really know too much about. So she's kind of struggling with her loyalty when this happens. I gave this one 4 stars. What I liked about this one is that it wasn't anything groundbreaking, but it was very entertaining. It was kind of more just like an escapism fantasy plot, and I really liked the setting of it. I've never read a fantasy where our characters live like on ships on the sea, so I liked that. And I liked where the story went, because it was like very fast paced. It was like scene to scene to scene, like there was no lingering between scenes, and where the story went, it turned into more of like an adventure and a journey, and these 2 characters are spending so much time together. I do wish it was a bit more of a slow burn between these characters, because again, the pacing is so quick. So when you have a fast-pacing plot and then also fast-pacing relationship and connection growing, I wish that the relationship part of it was a bit slower, but it does make sense for kind of like the ending for it to go that way. But as it was going on, I did wish for a little bit of a slower burn between them. I also really liked that character, like the male character we were following at that point, because because he reminded me a lot, I said this in the video, of Damon from Vampire Diaries, but from season 1. Like, he was very playful, and I feel like these characters, when they're introduced into fantasies, they're very broody, they're grumpy, they're a bit evil, but this one was like playful, and I really enjoyed his personality. And then I think I also said where the world building and the politics came in, I was really interested in like the magic system and all of that was happening. There was a lot going on, but I feel like we didn't dive too deep into the politics and the world building. We just kind of got what was happening, and it's like, this is what it is, and I wish we got more of like why that happens and like why these things are the way they are within the world. And I feel like maybe in the second one we're gonna pick up on that because of the way that it ended, which the ending goes crazy. And I feel like people may read this and feel like the ending is a bit abrupt, a bit out there, and like just doesn't make sense, but I have not been that shook and like had a jaw-dropping moment from the end of a book in a long time. But again, like I said, people may think it's kind of like abrupt, but I think when you think back on what the author was writing, like with our main character that we're following, it makes sense. Like, she's thrown in things throughout the book that you just don't pick up on, and when you read the ending, it's crazy, but then you think back on it, you're like, no, this doesn't make sense. So I can't wait for the second one to see what goes on. I really enjoyed this one. Again, it was like pure escapism, entertaining fantasy, very fast-paced, nothing groundbreaking, but does have twists and turns, an entertaining plot. And if you like an easily read romantasy that has some tropes that we know and love, but also kind of like a unique magic system, twists and turns, I think you'd enjoy this one. Maybe just like give it a chance. Again, it's entertaining. Then I read Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. This is part of the Rebel Blue Ranch series. This is the third this is the third book, the newest release that just came out. This series is a small town cowboy romance series, and it follows the Ryder siblings. So this one is the oldest sibling, Gus, that we're following. He co-parents raising his daughter, and he also is running the ranch. He's gonna run it like fully by himself one day. He's gonna take it over, so he has a lot of responsibilities going on. And then we have Teddy, who's actually his younger sister's best friend. So we have best friend's brother trope, that's a big one. And we also have the nanny trope. She ends up spending the summer with Gus because the mother of his daughter goes away out of town and he needs more extra help. So they put Teddy onto this, but the thing between them is that they've never really gotten along. They annoy each other, they have this physical attraction, but it's kind of like a, I don't want to say enemies to lovers, but they don't get along. I really loved this one. I don't know if this is my favorite out of all of them. I think thinking back on it, maybe it is. I gave this one a 4-star. I liked their dynamic so much because right off the bat when the story starts, you see their dynamic, you see how they are with each other. Again, they annoy each other, but they have this flirtatious banter because they are attracted to each other. They're not ever denying that. And then they're forced into this like forced proximity summer with each other, spending so much time together. And one thing I liked is the pacing and the timeline of events of the story, because you see them flirty banter, annoyed with each other for a bunch of it, but then it slowly turns into them opening up with each other, spending more time with each other. And these are two people who care so much about their loved ones and people around them, they're caregivers. And it was so nice to see eventually how that was reciprocated with each other, how the love that they show for other people, like within each other, and how much they care showed with each other. Like, it was just really sweet. I really liked the two of them. There's also dual point of view, which I love in a contemporary romance, especially getting the male main character's point of view. I think that's really important in these types of books to get that, because I think it shows a lot more and gives more to the story. One thing that happened in this though gave me the ick, and that is his nickname for her. I didn't like it. I couldn't do it. I didn't like it at all. But I ended up really enjoying these two. This, I think, maybe is my favorite so far in the series. I'd recommend this if you want a mindless, fast-paced read, if you like the small town cowboy romances, if you like Heartless by Elsie Silver. It's kind of the same thing, just like different font, different people. But also if you like this type of tropes in a book, but it also has a lot of emotion to it as well, which I wasn't expecting, but I really did enjoy. And I read Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. This one is about two musicians. We have Gwen, who's a self-taught violinist. She's part of this orchestra group with our male main character Xander, but not only is he part of the orchestra group, he also has his own band that Gwen has grown up loving. Like, she really likes the band that he's a part of. But Xander has grown up playing instruments since he was very young, and he's been wanting the position that Gwen got in the orchestra, so that kind of starts this rivalry between each other. This one I gave a 3.75 star, a bit picky on this one. I didn't know if I wanted to give it a 4 or a 3.5, so we just put it right in the middle. There's two things I really like in romances. It's banter, it's flirty banter, and it's also tension. I like the two of them together, and one thing this author doesn't do is banter. So we have main characters, because I read her last book, Forget Me Not, the male main characters are a bit mean. It's mean where it's not flirtatious mean, no, they're just like not nice. In this one he was giving a lot of corrections to her, he was kind of like putting her down in the music field, so I didn't love that. But you got to know him as it went on. You got a couple of chapters in his point of view, you got to know how he grew up and all this stuff, so you kind of understand him more and why he acts the way that he does. And eventually he would like do little things and it was like, okay, you're growing on me. And by the end of it, I liked seeing his growth, because in the beginning I just like didn't like him. I was like, why do you act like this? And then by the end of it I was like, I like you. I don't know how we got here, but I like you. One thing the author did so good in this book that I didn't even know was a thing was the musical tension. Like while they played their instruments with each other, especially like in front of crowds or whatever, like they felt like the only two people there. It was so like palpable. Like you could cut the tension with a knife. You could feel it through the paper. It was so incredible to read about. Really liked that because then when they got off the stage, it was like, okay, what do we do here? What is happening between us? So I really liked that. I like the way the author wrote that in the story, and there's also kind of like side events and side plots happening with the side characters that added to the story. So it's not just about them two, it's also about the music world that they're in and like what's going on with that. And I really enjoyed it more than I think I thought I would, because again, the first book that I read by this author, I didn't really love the characters too much, but this one I liked a lot more. I also really liked Gwen. She's such a strong character. She's kind of just trying to pave the way for herself and make money to support herself, and I really liked her. She's a beautiful musician, and it was really fun to watch her throughout the story and her try to trust and understand what Xander's doing and saying. So I think if you like reading about musicians and you like romances with lots of tension, I think you'd like this one. Then I read Where We Belong by Ennis Perkins. This one is the book that comes after When Time Stands Still, or Where Time Stands Still. It's about Aaron from the first book's best friend Finn, and it follows him at the same Vermont small town Christmas tree farm. He has always traveled and he's trying to settle down in his small town, but he kind of has this reputation with the town for someone that's kind of like a liability a bit. Like when he was growing up, he wasn't like the best kid in the town. And then you have Lexi, who comes to the small town from where she lives in Arizona because she's been trying to work her way up to the Olympics. She's a gymnast, but she has an injury that has set her back. So Finn's mother owns a gymnastics studio there, and that's like the only place that will let her come and work there, but also like practice there. So that's where they meet, that's where they start connecting. But what I really love what this author does is she creates an emotional connection before anything. Like you have a big chunk of the book of them becoming friends, getting to know each other and understanding each other before any romance starts, and I really appreciate that. And these two were so sweet. She creates male main characters that are walking green flags. Like everything he does and says and whatever is just really charming and heartwarming, and the setting is really nice because you're on a Christmas tree farm. It's perfect winter cozy read. This one I think I give a 3-star. I think going further into the book, I think it got a bit repetitive, a bit slow paced. Like we definitely slowed down getting towards the end of it. I think it could have like wrapped up a bit quicker, but I really liked the story. I liked her writing style. Again, the characters were really sweet together, and open communication and understanding is like a big theme in this, and I really like that. So I would definitely recommend this if you want a cozy winter read, if you want a nice like backdrop for the winter season, and if you like romances with a Christmas tree farm setting, because who doesn't in the winter time. And then the last book that I read was the book from Book of the Month. I actually listened to this one, The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter. Like I said, when I heard this was Knives Out meets rom-com, I knew I needed to read it, and this was the perfect setup to go into the winter Christmas reading season. The audiobook of this was so good. It had 2 voice actors for our 2 characters. This is basically about 2 authors who are kind of rivals in the field, but they're both invited to go over and fly over to England by this like secret like fan of theirs to spend Christmas there. When they get there, the person that invited them also invited their whole family. So it's kind of like the Knives Out. Like if you like the Knives Out movies, you will really like this because it's exactly how I picture the movies and how the movies go. Every character that shows up to Christmas dinner or the Christmas weekend, it's like they're all suspicious and they feel like they're there for different reasons. And then the person who invited them there ends up going missing, so it kind of turns into a whodunit situation. Like, are they missing? Did someone kill them? Like, where did they go? And there's like clues that happen, and as the clues are happening, the stakes get higher, their romance kind of picks up. And it was funny because I was listening to this and I forgot it was a romance because I was so invested in like the Knives Out situation, like the missing person situation, that like when the romance picked up, I was like kind of shook a little bit. But it was heartwarming, it was cute, I really enjoyed it. It's nothing like crazy groundbreaking, but I gave it 4 stars because again, it has some stuff that I love, and I'm not one that really like loves reading the themed Christmas holiday books. I feel like they get really cheesy, and I never give it more than like a 3-star. Like I know how I feel about them, but I also want to get in the holiday spirit, and this is like the perfect way for me to do it. Like this was just right up my alley. And again, the audio was really good because not only did it have the 2 voice actors, but they have these like parts of it where it's like a transcript from the police getting their interview of what happened, like the timeline of events, and the way that it like listening to it felt like it was actually like listening to a tape recording. Really interesting. I really liked it. It has short chapters, it's fun, it's humorous, it has the romance in it, and it was a really fun time. If you like Knives Out and you like rom-com humorous stuff and you want to get in the winter holiday spirit, I would definitely recommend this one, and I recommend listening to it. The audiobook was really good. So those are all of the books that I read in the month of November. Like I said, a lot of them were all over the place because a bunch were from Bookmas, so I couldn't really talk about it, but you will be getting to know my ratings and my reviews and what videos they were really for in the upcoming days. So you don't have to wait too long. By the time that this video comes out, you will have seen the reading vlog that these books are in, so by the end of this, I will tell you. If you haven't watched that video, I would recommend go watching it first, but if you didn't and you want to know my ratings anyway, I'll tell you. I gave this one a 3.5. I gave this one a 2.75 maybe. I'd probably give it like a 2.5. Like I said, wouldn't recommend it. It's not what I thought it was going to be at all. I gave this one, I think it was like a 3.75 or 3.5. Not my favorite in the series. The romance I was a bit disconnected with, but these were the books in the most recent reading vlog, and you will see a bunch of these throughout the month of December. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you've read any of these. If you're going to, let me know your ratings if you did read them. And thank you guys so much for watching. Also, don't forget to join the Book of the Month giveaway over on my Instagram. It closes December 15th. Thank you guys for participating with me if you have, and thank you again for Book of the Month for sponsoring and for doing this with me. It was so much fun, and thank you guys for watching. I hope you're enjoying Bookmas. I've been having so much fun filming these videos, and now getting to upload them is really, really exciting. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you tomorrow for our next day in Bookmas. Bye!